Share this right here live too.
All right, guys, we are live. We are coming to this episode here. We are at Bad Tom Smith Brewing in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. So we're sitting down here with Ian, the head brewery at this location, right?
That's right.
Fantastic. And then we have John and Cheryl, the owners, and they are joining us virtually. So they are audio only. You should be able to hear them. John and Cheryl, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Good afternoon, everybody.
All right, well, welcome, guys. All right, so obviously the Bad Tom Smith is probably one of the coolest names and logos that we've come across in a long time. So I was able to go on the website and learn a little bit and read the whole history of it. But for anybody joining us who doesn't know, why don't you guys give us a little bit of a backstory about Bad Tom Smith, how that came to be?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Anybody can take it away. Yeah, John, go ahead.
John's the expert on that.
So the brewery was started by Sean Smith, who was a descendant of Bad Tom Smith, who was an American outlaw from eastern Kentucky in the late 1800s. Bad Tom Smith murdered 9 people in eastern Kentucky. It was known as a local. Sean had originally started the brewery as Double Barrel Brewing, but ran into a trademark infringement back in 2014. And as he was growing up, stories about this distant relative who basically ran the county, and I thought it would be really cool to be able to change the name of the brewery to Bad Tom Smith, basically giving the people in the brewery an opportunity to not just enjoy a beer, but also hear stories that are associated with the different names that we applied to the beers.
Yeah,
it's not just brewing beer, but creating an environment where you can come in, hear a little bit of history, talk to the people who brew the beer, and obviously enjoy our beers as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely, that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely, yeah, it's so cool, and that's kind of what we built this whole podcast about. Is our little catch tag or catchphrase, if you will, is we enjoy good beer, but we like better conversations. And really, it's just that's really what it's all about with the craft beer. Yeah, but with the whole craft beer community, really, it's there's nothing like just having a really good beer and sitting down, and chatting the ear off to the guy next to you. So we love that. That's what you guys are all about, and what a really cool brand you built everything off. I noticed some of the names of the beers all kind of correspond with the story and the lore behind Bad Tom Smith, right? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So who's in charge? Who kind of comes up with the names of your guys' beers?
Well, John, you started, you and Sean, I'm sure, collaborated on the original names for the regular lineup.
Yes. Yeah. Which, as you mentioned, most of the beers we try to tie back to some story that's associated with Bad Tom Smith. So obviously, when you take a look at our American Outlaw IPA, Bad Tom was known as American Outlaw. Cold-Hearted Killer, which I know that you guys are enjoying. Eastern Kentucky is known as part of the coal country. You run all the way down through. If you look at the tombstone, in our tap room, we've got sayings that are written on Bad Tom Smith's tombstone as well. So the idea, again, is when you're enjoying a beer and somebody wants to learn about the redemption, our tap room team members can sit there and talk about not just what goes into the beer itself, the history of Bad Tom himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's really cool. That's really neat.
It is really neat. We actually have a DVD that they sell that there's a full documentary that kind of shows images and not first-hand accounts, but family accounts of the tale of Bad Tom as well.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you guys have a favorite story that any of these beers have?
Oh yeah, that's a great question.
13
favorite
Preachers.
Story. Yeah, that's a great story.
Isn't it?
Yeah, 13 Preachers is one of our more recent beers. And the story behind that is as Bad Tom Smith was found guilty, he was placed in the jail, the local jailhouse. And the morning that he was going to be hung, he asked if he could be baptized, to have his sins washed away. So they took Bad Tom and about 250 of his family members to a river that was right near the courthouse. And the rumor is that it took 13 preachers to enter the waters with Bad Tom to wash all of his sins away.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
It's that bad.
I was sharing, John. I was telling Ian here before we got started. I was doing some research, in preparation for coming out here today, and learning a little bit of the backstory. I was on you guys' website and learning about Bad Tom Smith, and I realized that right there in Jackson and in Breathitt County is about an hour west of where I spent a bunch of time. But my childhood, my grandmother actually used to live in Floyd County, the next county over, about an hour or so on the roads. Really pretty close, but as you know, with that part of Kentucky, that coal mining country, it's all mountains and hills. So it was actually something pretty close to where I spent a lot of time. So it really resonated with me. It's such a really cool backstory. I love it. It's awesome. So,
and if you take a look at,
I'm sorry.
really try to do is, while we are located in Cincinnati and Cleveland, we do have relationships with Eastern Kentucky. It's more than just putting the names on the beers. We do have a large number of members and friends who are in that area that we try to do things to support. So as you know, recently there was a lot of flooding that occurred in Breathitt County.
Yeah.
And we've tied some of our charity events to be able to bring money back into that community to help those who've lost their houses, lost their jobs, and that. So again, while we're located in Cleveland, Cincinnati, we still have a direct connection with that area.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that is. That's really neat.
Yeah, good for you guys. So how did you guys get started then, John and Cheryl? What made you guys want to get involved with owning your brewery, I guess?
Well, the original owner, Sean Smith, who was the descendant of Bad Tom Smith Brewery, 2012, they were basically soccer dads who were brewing in their basement. And in 2015, I was working as a contractor with Toyota headquarters in northern Kentucky. And I would travel to Cincinnati on a weekly basis and didn't have much to do after hours. So I this application called Facebook. My friend Sean Smith. And Sean brought me to his brewery. I thought it was, more of a basement type feel. Much experience there, or if you looked in our Cincinnati tap room, it really had a very, very feel to it. And they ran into financial problems. And myself and Cheryl, of course, Cheryl had to step out, but myself and Cheryl looked at it as a potential investment opportunity because there was incredible growth going on in the brewing industry in Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
We stepped in and just decided to really take the brand and extend it beyond Cincinnati, be able to find opportunities to open up more tap rooms, and at the time we saw opportunities to apply to products like bourbon, whiskey, sour mixes, and other types of things. That's what our vision was. And as I'm sure you guys have get a chance to see too, is that while you're enjoying our beers, we do have our own line of bourbon, Bad Tom Smith Bourbon. And we have other things that we're doing. We're proud to announce today, I think on that we have an operator to open up our third tap room.
Oh, fantastic.
That's cool.
Based on Ian's face, based on Ian's reaction, that was breaking news here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
where is that going to be?
It's in northern Cincinnati. Right now, the one we have in Cincinnati is closer to the river, and this one's about 20 miles north of Cincinnati. So we're proud to say that. And as I said, we looked at this as Cheryl and I are not brewers. We're fortunate enough to have individuals like Ian and thousands of other people who enjoy beer and can tell us whether our product is good or not. But we just try to create a really, really nice experience for people that's beyond just drinking a beer. You get a chance to really come in, hear our stories, meet our team, get a chance to interact with individuals like Ian, who has an incredible passion for brewing, and try to keep that connection with the community.
Wow, that's fantastic. Good for you guys. That's great, especially now. I mean, in today's world, you see so many people in this industry specifically struggling over the past year, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's great to see you guys have success and continue to grow and expand and be able to reach more people with such an awesome brand you built here. So that's fantastic. Good for you guys. Thanks for you actually jumped ahead, John. I had it poised up. I wanted to dig in and see if we could get anything out of you guys, any insider secrets or anything behind the scenes. So I appreciate you sharing with us. That's great. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So
Thank you.
So I guess to keep the conversation on you guys, what is your favorite beer? I know you guys aren't brewers or anything like that, but what is your favorite beer that's on tap right now for you guys? What's the go-to Bad Tom Smith brew in your opinion?
Oh, that's an easy one. If you take a look on the beer list there, you'll see Wicked Cheryl.
Oh yeah.
That beer was named after my wife, Cheryl. Cheryl has a license plate on her Corvette that says Wicked, and when we brewed our first beer, when we purchased the brewery in 2015, our first beer, and we wanted to rebrand some things. And Cheryl had, come along with me on this venture, and she was the primary financial supporter early on for the brewery. And I figured, hey, let's do something to try to create a connection for her. And I figured we named the first beer after her, and then that's where it's at. It's one of our favorites. It's not just ours, but just the brewery in general. It's our second most popular beer in terms of sales. Hazy River is number one.
Yeah. And that's what Ian's got.
Yeah.
It was so funny. The minute I asked that question, Ian already knew where what the answer was. And as a married man, I can appreciate the answer to that. That's fantastic. Oh wow, good for you guys. That's great. Yeah. So I know you mentioned before, what your guys' plans are in expansion. But what about distribution? Where I know you guys here in Cleveland, and then I used to do a bunch of traveling in my previous job, and I was down in the Cincinnati area. I know there's a huge craft beer down there as well. But where else can people find your guys' product with? Not only the beer or the whiskey. Is there anywhere else besides the tap rooms and here in Cleveland or Cincy where people can find your products?
Well, we don't actually, John. If you don't mind, I'll kind of speak to this a little bit. So we're not involved in distribution so much. We've got huge sales at our tap rooms, and that's like the biggest driver of what we're doing. But on occasion, we are doing collaborations and things that you can find elsewhere. Yeah. So I live in Lakewood, just a stone's throw from here.
Yeah.
And Lakewood has a big tree lighting ceremony every year, light up Lakewood. And we had brewed a Christmas ale in collaboration with Rossi's Wine House.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, Rossi's Wine Shop that sells, and they have different beers on draft there. And so we collaborated with their team over there, and we made a Christmas ale. It's a blonde ale. So it's it's a little untraditional, and with a blonde ale, I collaborated mainly with Kevin Villafane of the shop, who had the idea to name it. We Forgot Kevin.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, right. Home Alone, right? Everybody catches it.
Yes,
and so Kevin was involved. We were involved, and so that was on tap there at Rossi's for their Light Up Lakewood for the last 2 years. Actually, it was modified for COVID last year, of course. Sure. But so on occasion, some of our collaborations can go beyond our walls, and we're looking to do more in this coming year. We had great momentum going into COVID, and it just changed everything. Yeah. But so currently, John and I talked about possibly canning or bottling over quarantine and this weird time. But currently, we're just in our tap rooms.
Sure,
if I'm not mistaken, John.
No, and I love it. And like what John touched on before, like being able to sit down and show and explain the history behind the brand, behind the beers, how they got the names, how it ties in with the lore. I mean, you can't get that unless you really walk into a place like this.
Which is true. But for me, as a brewer and a longtime Lakewood resident, it was super cool to be able to have a beer that I made on the street corner as they lit up the Christmas tree in my hometown. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you. What an
accomplishment.
That's great.
It's been a great seller. Actually, the first year we did it, outsold all the other Christmas sales that they had on tap.
Really?
At Rossi's, yes. It was the first one that they ran out.
That's awesome.
Is that,
So it had to be okay, at least.
Yeah, it's okay. And so hopefully we can continue that partnership going forward. And yeah, it's been enjoyed by the Cincinnati and Cleveland Tap Rooms.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I kind of want to flip the script and focus on you
No,
a little
no,
bit.
no.
Yeah, we're going to put the pressure on Ian a little
John
bit.
knows a
now.
lot more than me.
No, it's great. It's really funny. You know, there's a question that came up when we were talking to Steve, a good friend of ours that's been heavily involved in home brewing. But before we want to get to that, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get involved in brewing beer and getting to be the brewer of such an awesome place like this?
Well, let me just apologize to John for stealing his thunder. But so I've listened to your podcast. You made me a fan, and I know
We paid him handsomely to say that. Okay?
And for future episodes, I'm sure I'll be compensated. But so John and Cheryl just had an awesome idea of starting this Cleveland Tap Room back in December of 2017, and that was to include the local community. And so from the beginning, they were doing a home brewers shootout where we could submit beers and we would be judged then by local brewmasters. And if you won, then you would have the opportunity to brew on their system.
Oh, what a great idea!
Yes, right? Isn't that cool?
That's
so cool.
Such a fantastic idea, John. Yeah. Any other brewery owners or business owners take note. Like,
Right?
It's such a great idea.
Well, it just had like the whole brewing community here in Cleveland bubbling, and my father-in-law Rick Ammon, he's a home brewer as well, and he heard about it and he was following everything Bad Tom before they even opened the doors here, and so he told me, start submitting beers, get ready, and I did, and that was this year. I brought some artifacts for you. So
hey, look at that!
yeah. So I know you guys go through the history of breweries as you do the show, and so I just wanted to bring you a little bit of history that I had here. So that was the first beer that I won. And it was a brown ale, and that's the style that Bad Tom prides themselves on. Their brown ale is kind of the
it's like the flagship, right?
It's like a flagship. Yeah, I mean, in terms of sales, you know, I don't know where it competes with Wicked Cheryl, but it's something that we kind of adjust. We do a churro version of it as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Is that on tap here?
It's not currently.
Sorry. Oh, I was gonna say, like that's I'm almost done with my first. Like
yeah.
that's the next one.
So I won with my brown ale. And then I won again with my black IPA. And so, wow.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was a really great opportunity that John and Cheryl provided. And, you know, after winning once and then twice, I was invited to be part of a team of winners that's kind of started the Ohio City Brews brand here.
Oh, very cool.
Fantastic. So I always love that, and that's kind of why we started this whole thing. Is there's always such a cool backstory behind how everybody got involved. There's always, if you really peel back the layers, it's fantastic. Good for you. Yeah. So, and this is funny that question that Steve brought up to us. Do you remember what it was about this? No, it's fine.
You put me on the spot there.
I know, I did. Well, no, it was exactly that. So our buddy Steve, who we've known forever, is heavily involved in home brewing. He's been doing it for like 6-7 years now.
I think I've seen him on one of your.
He was just on the last episode. Yeah,
that's what we did.
and it went for like 17 hours long. But he asked a great question. We were like, hey, we're going to sit down with this group in the next couple of weeks. What would be a good question from from somebody who's been in home brewing for a while, that knows a little bit more than we do? What would be a good question to ask their brewer? And he goes, what was the no, you're good. What was the one beer that you made that like the light bulb just flipped and you were like, listen, I can do this for a living. So like I've got this down. I can probably, there's something here to it. You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
Was it one of these beers that entered on here, or was it before that? What was that moment?
It was. That's a good question. So, I don't know if I've ever had that confidence that, like it's made from here, but, brewing is a craft that's constantly evolving, and there's, new strains of yeast being introduced, and there's new styles, so much happening all the time, but, it was the opportunity that John and Cheryl provided here at Bad Tom Smith, really kind of launched that, and this black IPA was one that just really took off for me. So, as part of Cleveland Beer Week, for all the breweries in Cleveland, get together. We do a bunch of different events and things. One of them has been a homebrew contest over at the Cleveland Brew Shop, just a few months
right on.
Yeah. And so with that event, they just invite all the homebrewers in to taste them. And that black IPA, the second one here, when I had that, I was, pouring it. I actually brought like 4 different. I had a cider, a Martin, and my black IPA, and I think just like a regular IPA. But I was sharing them and pouring them for everybody as part of Cleveland Beer Week. And one guy really liked them. And I was like, oh, it's great. I really like it. And he came back later with this guy with this long, gnarly beard and this mustache that disappeared somewhere into it. And he made him try it. And he really liked it. And I was like, oh, that's great. Thanks for bringing your friend by. And it was actually Paul Benner, the owner of Platform.
Oh, wow.
And he told me that was the best homebrew he'd ever had.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah, and then I've kind of been floored since then. And then I brewed my Heathering with it here at Bad Tom, and it won. And then after that, it was a tie for Homebrew of the Year for the Homebrew Shootout. I don't know exactly how we got to a tie, but it's excellent that we did because you enjoyed Straight Shooter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was Jordan Engeldals who was part of that. He was a home brewer. He brewed that for Bad Tom, and now it's part of the lineup. And yeah, right. And so I got to do mine as well, which later got renamed Hangman, which just kind of fits into the Bad Tom ethos. So that beer won here, it won there, and that was kind of the beer that kind of just launched me off. And that was a totally unique recipe, and there weren't a lot of black IPAs at the time.
Sure, yeah.
And so, just worked for me.
That is awesome.
That is really cool.
I love that story. That's fantastic. Do you have is the Hangman on tap here? Is that one that I can have?
John, do I have to tell him no?
I was like,
sorry.
Man, you keep dangling these carrots of these fantastic beers, and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to try that.
Well, I was talking with Steve, our bartender, and I know it's
I think that
beer, so.
Insane. What we want to do with it and the collaboration beers with our brewers outside of Bad Tom is to try to stretch the boundaries of what we can offer to our customers. The brews that we typically do out of Cincinnati, out of our main production facility, we try to stay in line pretty well with the style of beer. You notice we have 14 or 15 beers of ours that are on tap. We've got a couple of beers that are from guest breweries, but we try to represent a basic IPA, basic porters, basic stouts, things that the mainstream can appreciate without going too crazy. Just kind of do what he feels is going to bring satisfaction to him, and then also kind of stretch the palate for customers who don't get a chance to experience many things. And it's pretty low risk for us, small batch, and it just adds a lot more to the experience again, customers, as opposed to us going out and being like Platform or Street Side Brewery in Cincinnati, where 3 people can do something that's consistent, and we allow Ian to go out there and try to kind of break the sound barrier with new styles.
That's fantastic. Now that leads me. There was another question I had too. It was if there was an old brew or an old beer that's no longer on the tap list, right? That you can't get. And I guess this is a good question for John and for Ian, you guys both. What would be a beer that either fell away to the wayside or was a seasonal that you guys would each like to see make a comeback?
Well, I know Steve, who is just here refreshing your drink.
Steve, say hi to everybody.
I brought Steve.
Not to put you on the spot here.
St. Redrick's, which was our Irish Red Ale, which we just didn't get up in time for this COVID recovery break. But that's I think Steve's favorite that we need to bring back.
Yeah.
For me, it's our Shandy Alamar.
Okay. What a great name again. You like that?
Yeah. So that was just the team here at the time. We were all talking about what can we do with All-Star Week here in Cleveland. Yeah. And it's the summer. Let's do Shandy Alamar. I've got a few different shandies under my belt. Yeah. And so we did one with Starfruit, which is native to Puerto Rico, where Sandy Alamar is from.
Yeah, right.
And so we just trying to pull it all full circle.
Oh, okay.
So it's Starfruit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
So that's what I really enjoyed making.
Love that. That's fantastic. What about you, John? Is there anything that comes to mind there for you?
Yeah, I think it'd be our Old Abe, which is an American strong ale. It's a 10% ABV, and it's something that we do more on a limited basis. We tried to actually, during the COVID break, we tried to put it into some barrels, the same barrels that we took our bourbon out of.
Oh, awesome.
But unfortunately, we had some alcohols that were brought into the beer from the barrels that we weren't prepared for, so we couldn't serve that. But I think that's one that stands out on our side because, again, when you think about Bad Tom, we, as Ian had called out, we really are more known for our porters, our brown ales, stouts, as opposed to what most people are looking for, which are the IPAs, the blonde ales, and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that one kind of jumps out for me.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I'm glad you brought up. Are you guys? I mean, with being a brewery and having the distillery, kind of the whiskey on the side, is there any barrel aging? What are the plans with that? Do you guys have anything in the works here that may be coming soon?
Well, I have ideas, John. You want to surprise? You surprise me. Well, before John speaks, I'm sure he's got some really good, exciting things coming up. We had done a lime goza, which was part of it was a collaboration effort between Jordan, who had won with the Straight Shooter, and myself, and our other brewing member team, Connor Toomey at the time, where we developed a lime goza that was aged in a tequila barrel. And yes, we have a tequila barrel in the basement. We're looking to bring that back into action, hopefully again this year. We had plans last year, which chock full calendar, and then COVID hit. I had 4 beers on tap here, and then it's just been slow since. But we were going to do a Mexican mole stout in a tequila barrel.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get that ready for Dia de los Muertos this year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic, right? I don't think have you ever had a tequila aged beer?
I can't remember what it was called. I know I have, but it's been a few years at this point.
There's only a couple out there.
Yeah.
Right.
We had to search long and hard to see what other people were doing.
Yeah,
what
right.
flavor profiles worked with it, and
Sure.
and just trying to do something original. So
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks.
Love that. Yeah, really pushing the boundaries on that.
I mean, it's basically a margarita, right?
Yeah.
You got that lime flavor, that saltiness.
Sure.
It was a great beer. So maybe we'll bring that back, but at least maybe
Man, that sounds delicious. That's a great idea.
That's another beer that I can't have right now. That's
All right,
so
we'll talk
good.
about
No, you guys mentioned kind of more of what you guys are known for, really, with porters and brown ales. Kind of slipping aside,
Cleveland, Cincinnati,
everybody's so heavy with the IPAs and with the flood of the market over the past couple years. So that's fantastic. What would you say besides the straight shooter that you were talking about? What was your best stout or porter? Because that is right into my heart.
Yes, that's right.
I love the dark, rich, really even the higher ABVs. I love the stouts. What would you recommend on that side that I try next?
Well, we do have an Imperial stout.
Do you?
Yes. A Russian Imperial.
I'm there.
You're there?
I'm there.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
That's the full-hearted
Yeah,
killer.
it is.
Oh my gosh, Steve
Miller?
Yes, please. Oh my man. Absolutely. Oh, I'm excited for that.
That's great.
It was funny that we were kind of talking back and forth with Steve. He was asking, like where do our palates fall? Like, what do we prefer? And he's always been unintentionally more of like a purist, like where you really love just like a really simple.
Right.
Good for you.
Which is, he always gets the respect.
Because they're hard to do. You can't hide behind all these adjuncts and things. So
That's
if
right.
you're being,
That's
if you're going to pull up an honest lager, you got to do it right. And there's like a whole flavor that develops over time when you go after a beer like that. I'm lagering one at home right now, and it takes time and energy and care, and the flavors change, and you have to get it right. So
Thank you,
I
sir.
respect that.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Every time we bring that up, any brewer we're always at, they always fall in love with them, and I'm the opposite side. I love give me the craziest beer.
I like both.
Give me the 11% Imperial. Like I want to be punched in the face. Give me something crazy.
You might like the gift that I brought you. That it's called Glazed and Confused. It's
Another
donut
great
stout.
name.
Thank you. It's using Jack Frost donuts, local here in Cleveland.
No way.
And I dry hop with the donuts, donut dry hop, if you will, and I put them in the mash, and so you just get a real nice breadiness.
Wow.
In a nice coffee kind of stout. So
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. You said you brought some of those?
yeah, I hope you don't mind
my
gifts.
God, yeah, absolutely. No, not a problem. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm gonna try this imperial.
I think one of the other beers that's a little unique to us is our Doc's Kentucky Common,
Yeah,
which is a malt beer. The recipe that we actually use was created by Thomas Jefferson out of Louisville in the early 1800s, and it's a beer that's only been brewed by 4 or 5 breweries across the country. So that's one that's a little bit unique to us, and again ties back to that story coming out of Kentucky.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic. How is it that is there a reason why only a few people have done that, John?
It's not a very common style. It's a very simple beer to make as well. And I mean, beyond that, I think again, the majority of the industry tends to lean towards IPAs, and it's really not something that is real popular out there. But I will say this too, that one of the new people who's joined our team comes from Chicago. She's going to start talking with Ian a little bit on maybe some of the other styles that we see outside of our region. And I think one of the things that Ian's going to be doing next is a California Common, which I'd never heard of until he brought it up. So I think there are a lot of styles out there that, we might be familiar with them in this area, but once you start going outside of our area, it's like nobody really is that familiar with them.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to talk about the California Common idea, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great segue. So my friend Corey is the brewer over at Hansa. Just another stone's throw.
Another road, sure.
Beautiful little German brewery around the corner here, and he's actually the president and founder of my homebrew club. I'm involved in a few homebrew clubs, and so he came over recently. We just did this California Common as part of a collaboration here for the club. And it's another one of those lost styles, and I think that's why Doc's out there and people are doing it, is that it's a historic style that's kind of just lost in time.
Sure.
And so we found another one. It's actually a personal challenge of mine to check off every brewing style this year. I've brewed almost every kind of beer that you can. And yes.
What's left on the list?
That's a hell of an accomplishment.
I was afraid you would ask me that.
We were joking with Steve too. It's like we truly it's been such a learning experience for us because we were never home brewers. We really are very ignorant to the science behind it, but we appreciate the passion and the craft behind the beer.
Yeah,
but it's so awesome to learn that there's just so much that goes in. There's so many different styles and different ways to do it, and it's great to hear people pushing the envelope and always trying to learn with the craft beer community. It seems like everybody has that same drive of forever being a student.
Once you get bit by the bug, you just love it and you can't stop.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we're afraid of. That's the excuse we use why we never got into it. Right. Because it would just take over. We would buy a house together and it was just, it would all from there.
Let me just temper that. So most of brewing is sanitation, all right? Lots of cleaning. It's not fun.
Sure. No, that's fantastic. But I'm sorry to interrupt. What is left on the list? I guess
I was so afraid you were going to ask me. I was going to memorize it.
Yeah, we told you we were going to put you on the spot.
I know. So it's like a checklist I have of all the styles, and I have a Weizenbach, I have a Sati. I just had California Common, but I checked that off, and we're going to bring that to the brewery here. And there's like 5 others. Scottish Export. I've done most everything, and I've done a lot of historical styles. So it's a short list. But I got it done this year, and one of them I'll get to check off not only personally, but here at the brewery with the California Common. It's owned by Anchor Brewing. Christine beer. So they're the ones that kind of popularized it. It's lager that's got like a reddish hue to it, which you don't see commonly with lagers.
Right.
So it's a light malt bill, and then. I have so many recipes. People ask me questions all the time, like, "What did you use?" And I'm like, I don't know. But I just got it, and there's about 20% of caramel 80 in it, and so that just embarks a little bit of that reddishness. That's going to kind of set it apart. So it's what you'd expect from a lager, but then a little bit more caramel to it as well. So yeah,
Fantastic.
It is.
it should be good.
Plan on bringing that one out here, right?
Yes, yeah, that'll be here soon. Probably the next. I'll get started on the next week or so, and then it's a lager, so it'll take time.
Yeah, right.
There you go. Oh my gosh, that's great. Now, what was you mentioned before what you were doing with with dry hopping with the donut, right? What is the craziest beer that your craziest idea that you've either tried that came out fantastic, or probably what more people are more interested in? What was the crazy idea you tried that was just a total flop, right? That just never came out?
Oh gosh. All right, so
I can see there was something that came to your head there.
well, it came to my head very quickly. So I've been brewing almost 10 years now, and it's evolved over time. So that I'm better, and I've got a better system now, and I'm now part of this wonderful team where I'm learning so much more on the pro side. But it wasn't always that way, and a number of years back, I've been married for 5 now. So this was it's about 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I was trying to do a Belgian wit, and I wanted to incorporate honey.
Okay.
And I went heavy on it. I was into it, and I was like, I want that to shine through because a lot of it ferments out. And so I went heavy on it, and I was a very novice brewer, and I was thinking of it as like a kitchen recipe rather than a chemical equation.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have seen this one coming, but so at the time it was bottle conditioning, which is really common with home brewers. You get it in the bottle before the yeast is done, maybe add a little bit of sugar and finish off and carb up. And because I thought of it as a kitchen recipe, I had just said, let's go heavy on the sugar, on the honey. And they started exploding. Oh yeah. At first it was awesome because at first it scared us. It was in my home in Lakewood at the time, and the bottles like the biggest point on the sidewalls, and they explode. The top just rockets.
Oh,
and so you would hear these pops on the floor below you, and then it just smelled like honey and great beer. It was wonderful for a week. And then I didn't want to deal with it because I didn't want to be part of that. The explosion.
If you don't go down there, you don't look at it. Exactly. It never happened, kind of thing. Yeah, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. But then it got so bad. That honey just faded, and it turned into rancid. And so I threw some towels over it to try and help control the blast. And, and I went down there. This was the 4th of July, 2014. And I was getting ready to go watch the fireworks on my dad's boat, and I'm cleaning off these bottles that were just sticky that were nearby. And as I'm wiping one off, I put it on the shelf, and it exploded in a can.
No.
Yeah. And a piece of glass ricocheted and popped my eye.
Get out of here.
It stopped right before my brain. My eye was 70% deflated.
Oh my God!
I was in the ER for several emergency surgeries, and wow, yeah. So that's the beer that flopped for me. That one,
I definitely
really,
see why you immediately thought of that.
Wow. So I was very fortunate. Good team at the Cleveland Clinic helped me out and got me all stitched up. And my vision is darn near normal. Like the two eyes correct for themselves. So, but that was a life-changing moment.
Through blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes, yes. And at that point, I was like, well, I gotta quit brewing, right? Like,
right. There's got to be a turning point. Sure.
My now wife was like, just knock it off. Like, we don't need any more problems. And I saw it as a turning point where I either had to change my process or give it up. And I didn't want it to be a kind of a moment of failure, and I just took that and I ran with it. And I said, this is something I'm going to be fully committed to. This is going to be my future. I love it. And so that was a terrible beer. I don't think I've even had a sip of it.
Did any of the bottles survive?
No. I have the piece of glass they fished out of my head, but other than that, there was nothing else left. And so that was my worst batch of beer ever.
For sure.
Um,
I don't see how it gets much worse.
Yeah, right. Oh my
on
god.
occasion, you can have a beer with lots of diacetyl, which is not good.
A little bit of blasting
But
around.
it was the nasty wasn't in glass in your face,
No,
right?
exactly. No, shrapnel all the way up my arm.
Oh,
It was,
man.
it was crazy. The whole world started to distort around me, like through my vision.
Oh, I could imagine.
yeah.
And you were saying like that the story is going to shock me. Like, all right, like the beer was chewy.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
sure, right.
It didn't taste good. No, it was terrible. It almost killed me. That was my worst batch of beer.
Way to turn the mood down. Man.
Sorry,
No.
I'm sorry, but I took it and I turned it into a positive.
No, yeah,
Sure.
that's, I mean, so many people would have exactly like that. Like, I have to stop. Right?
Yeah.
Like, clearly, this has been fun. It's cool, but it's not like risking my life over.
No.
You know.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
Yeah. I guess
It's still out here.
that's what sets you apart, man. That's fantastic. Oh wow, what a story. Yeah, I'm with Lee. Right? Did not see that one coming.
Right.
You're right.
Not at all.
Oh.
Yeah, it happens. Be careful out there, people with bottle conditioning.
Well, besides the bottle conditioning from that story, what would be, now that, like you said, you've been doing this for 10 years, right? Transition through hard work and grit and determination to get to the position you're at now. What would be some advice for people who are just starting to homebrew, or people who have been homebrewing for years that are trying to make that next step?
Next step is get involved in your community. We're fortunate here in Cleveland. We've got really 5 homebrew groups within 30 minutes of Cleveland. Our biggest one, Snobs, just celebrated their 30th anniversary. And I'm also part of the Home Bros, and as well as the Brewly Boys. And then we also have, Akron is just nearby, and so they've got a couple of clubs. And out to the east side from Lake County, they have Little Mountain Home Brewers out there. So, and we all come together at different times, and there's just such a great community out there. And your friends and family are always going to be kind to you, even when you serve them.
Hand grenades?
Yes, hand grenades. They'll still be kind to you. So get out there and get some honest feedback. And so that's one of the great things about the one club I'm involved in, the Home Bros, is that we use a BJC approach to kind of looking at what is a beer's merits and what are its faults, and kind of just picking it apart so that the brewer can learn and grow. And that's a huge part of taking the next step, is getting the feedback and taking it and working with it. And so if you can get involved in a club like that, where we're going to pick apart your beer and give you honest, objective feedback, it's huge. So that competition. These competitions do that as well. You're just removed. You'll get a sheet of paper in the mail that says your beer was good for this, it was bad for that. But when you can sit around the table and have those conversations with people, like at the Home Bros, it's huge.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, great feedback for sure. You said we've talked about it since we've started this. We're like, should we do that? And I think we're so much better just on this side, enjoying the beer.
I like talking about it. I like drinking it. For
Well,
sure.
then get involved. Come to a club meeting. Yeah, you don't even have to brew to be involved in the club. So at like Home Bros, we brew a different beer every month, and that beer is part of an annual competition to be the best brewer. But people bring in other side beers, or just come in and enjoy the beers and have conversations about it. And, take a judging score sheet and look at, why was this beer successful? Why was it not? And just kind of piece through all that together and enjoy great beers on the side, because people go out of town and whatnot for work, and we'll bring stuff back, and we'll just kind of, it's just a great community. We'll just kind of share and experience.
Awesome.
So
I will definitely take it from that.
it's
That's
like
awesome.
this, minus the mics. Yeah.
Here's our application.
For sure.
Come on down.
We are there. It's funny.
First Tuesday in the month. It used to be at the Cleveland Brew Shop. It's all virtual these days.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably all on too now. We always talked about it. That would be like the all-time greatest job, is just whoever gets to name beers.
Yes.
We were talking about before, guys, everything, even some of the ones that you were doing here, and everything here was underneath the Bad Tom Smith umbrella. Everything just really ties into that. That is so fantastic. I think that would be the best gig in the world, to sit there, drink beer, and come with our names on it. Wow, that's fantastic. Sorry, John. We left you in the wing there. We got wrapped up with Ian's incredible, inspiring story. You've got a bunch of people here that's one hell of an inspiring story. So we'll throw you on there. It truly is.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's it. So that's all I had on my list here. Lee, unless there was anything else you wanted to cover.
Well, I think one of my favorite questions is there anything that we didn't ask either of you guys that we should have asked?
Yeah.
Like if you were sitting where we're sitting, what would you have asked?
Great feedback. Yes.
That's
love
good.
that question.
Well, I know one from your other podcast. I'll let John jump in because I've been hugging the mic.
No, I think that as a local community brewery appreciates individuals like yourself who have a passion not to get any money off of it. If you have a passion to just go out and see what all of us are doing. I mean, all of us are small business owners. You have individuals like Ian who are very passionate about what they do. We try to come together. We try to collaborate outside our four walls.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to take the time on a Saturday and come out and spend time with us, learn more about us, give people some exposure to who we are as a small brewery, that we greatly appreciate. So, I mean, there's a million questions. There's a million things we can talk about. Like as an example, the next thing we're doing with Ian's going to be working with my wife Cheryl on a project. It's a charity that we have. It's called Joey's Paws Prosthetics and Wheelchairs for pets, for animals. And this was founded by a dog that had, unfortunately, his legs were removed, not by accident. His name's Boone. And they're going to be coming up with a brown ale that's going to feed this charity. You know, we're going to be able to sell that in our tap room. We're going to can it, and I'm sorry, not can it, but bottle it with Ian. So it's something that's new too. But we appreciate you guys being able to talk about the charities, the way we contribute back to the community, and those types of things. And it's just it's a great forum for us. So we thank you.
No, the appreciation is likewise. Thanks, guys, for giving us the time here and talking to us. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you again.
Yeah, we are always so humbled anytime anybody wants to give us, half a second out of their day. So
for sure.
But we talk about it's such a recurring theme that unfortunately, and I think over the past maybe year or so, even probably before COVID, that a lot of times the craft beer scene has a little bit of a barrier to get in. And it's unfortunate, people are they're really into it or they're not.
Absolutely.
And everybody we come across in this community, whether it's just somebody that appreciates beer like we do, or actually involved in brewing it, or ownership, or a bartender, whoever it is, everybody in this community is so open and welcome, and just wants to, an opportunity to share their passion, really what it is. So we are so humbled and very glad to have been able to have the opportunity to hang out. This place is awesome.
And find a back door.
Yeah, right. And
It's
that's exactly what it is. We've realized that this is a great opportunity for us to we love learning about it, right? And just taking time, and we understand that everybody has jobs, and it's at any time we're at a bar, we always try and grab a bartender or a brewery, and so it's great for us. It's selfish in our part, but it's great that we can use this as an excuse to sit down and pick everybody's brain and learn the backstories behind everything. So we absolutely love it. So thank you, John, again for opening up your door and letting us come in and learn more about Bad Tom Smith and your guys' story and what the plans are for the future.
Yeah, well, Ian, if you get a chance, maybe take them downstairs too and show them the brewing system that you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I gave him a sneak peek earlier, but I'll give him a little more detail. But to kind of segue off of the community and how it's we need to open more doors and include more people. It's something John and Cheryl have always done with Bad Tom here. With the homebrew shootout, every beer you were able to give a percentage of your proceeds back to charities. So everyone who got involved with that was part of this or part of that, giving back to our community, which was just super, just a wonderful opportunity. For sure. I raised thousands of dollars for Autism Speaks. I know other brewers and homebrewers did different things, and we were part of the Black is Beautiful Collaborative, where we also gave back and donated to some charities in Cincinnati. After John was able to meet with some community leaders down there. So that's a large part of what Bad Tom is. We've got this upcoming collab where we're going to work with Boone the dog, but we can't help ourselves. We're always involved in some kind of charity. It's awesome.
Bad Tom, want to see all the good you guys are doing.
Yeah.
It was
The
cool.
chance
And
to
I'm-
name
I'm-
John.
I'm gonna- yeah, right. Yeah, right. Bad Tom isn't so bad. Well, I even saw too, and John, I think it might have been a quote from yours on the website that it's kind of a redemption of Bad Tom.
It is.
I like the resurgence of his brand and doing good by it. So,
Yeah.
so kudos to you guys. That's fantastic. It really is. Now, I'm sorry, please.
No, I didn't want to miss the opportunity. I know you said for anything that you could have asked.
Yes.
And I know from your other podcast with Clovenhoof, he had a really good answer for what sets your beer apart.
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
That was.
Yes.
I'm glad you caught on that.
Right?
So far, no pressure. That's probably been the best answer.
I
we've gotten.
haven't given any thought or anything. It's just slipping into my mind.
Well, hold
suddenly.
on. For anybody else who doesn't know, so the question we asked, and it was at Clovenhoof. It's the last brewer that we were at. We have the same thing. We're at Mortal's Key, I think.
Right. Another great podcast.
Pennsylvania. What exactly? What really sets you guys apart from the crowd, right? Especially here in the Ohio City area, here in Cleveland, and where you're at. I mean, you mentioned a stone's throw. There's a million other breweries.
Yeah, one there. Yeah,
Yeah. I guess from I would love to hear your take on it, and John, yours as well. Of what sets you guys apart from everybody else?
John mentioned it a little bit. He hinted at it earlier. But I think our hashtag that John had been ready with from the beginning is hashtag badass in the glass.
Yeah.
very cool.
Right? Everything we do ties back to the Bad Tom story. Even some of these collaborative beers, like we had our beer. I again had Corey Miller over from Hansa, and we did Verbieten dies Nusa, a beer with a German title. And John was like, I don't know about naming a beer here in Cleveland a German name, but it means
Great pronunciation, by the way. That was beautiful.
Well, I speak German.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And so it was a hazelnut beer, and so we just we played with the Bad Tom and outlawed these, and it was a collab that was here and at Hansa, offered at both tap rooms, and that's kind of what we've been doing is these beers that are traditional beers that you would expect, but with a little bit with that extra element, that badass in the glass, and so that was a beer where we used hazelnuts that wouldn't have been traditionally done. The shandy, where we use starfruit, that would, I've never heard of another starfruit beer. Sure. So we're trying to take classic styles that we know people want and will enjoy, and then just kind of give them a little bit of a twist. So we don't have that Clovenhoof response of we just make kick-ass beer, but we do make kick-ass beer. It's just with a little twist.
I love it. Yeah, right. What a great answer. You definitely have not been preparing for that.
No. I found about this morning.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. What a great answer there. Hey, John, anything to add on that?
I'll be honest with you. I think that the thing that we take pride in is, the individual that you have sitting at the table, Ian. When you look at Steve, who's serving the beers, Bethany, who's our server too. I think if you were to go to any of the breweries that are within walking distance of Bad Tom Smith, you're going to enjoy the beer. What we try to do is we try to create a really nice environment where people can come in and they can talk with the person who actually brews the beer. They can talk with the server and develop a relationship with them. And we try to, that's what Cheryl and I really focus on, is creating that experience, knowing that you're going to enjoy a good beer. Maybe you're going to try our bourbon, our Bad Tom Smith bourbon. But more importantly, it's that old town type feel where you come in and you can develop that relationship with the people who have their hands on the product. And that's what's most important for us. And that's what stands out, I think, the most on who we are. We're not the biggest. Again, we're not going to sit here and say that we've won every gold medal for beers. But what we do is we just try to create a quality product and a quality experience. We hope people enjoy it and come back.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, you can feel that being around here. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. I mean, just walking in the door, even already knowing that we had this plan, but just walking in, seeing the aesthetic here, seeing everybody that we've come across, and Steve's been fantastic. I mean, it's been great. It definitely resonates through. You're doing an awesome job here, John, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Well, guys, I think we're going to hang out here for a little bit longer and probably pick your brain a little bit and enjoy another beer or two. But I think we're going to wrap up for this episode. So, Ian, I know you said you listened to a few of them here. So, John, every episode, I always drop it on Lee, which is really funny. Whatever the time is, to give us our patented closing remarks. And to this day, we've never really prepared for it at all, and I always drop it on. So Lee, with no preparation, go ahead and close up the show for us, brother.
Hey guys, thanks again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube at Drink About It Podcast. Leave a review wherever you get your podcast, because that helps us out a lot. Check out Brew Bag. With our podcast, Drink It, to get 10% off.
Yeah, absolutely. And please make sure, if you're in the Cleveland area, come down to Bad Tom Smith over in Ohio City and in Cincinnati at their location. And John, you said, what do you think? Give me a relative timeline with the new location. What do you think? Probably by the end of the year that we'll have those 2 locations down in Cincinnati, or what are we thinking?
Well, we're really hoping for the end of summer, early fall. A lot of things have fallen into place pretty quickly with that.
Sure.
So I think we're going to be definitely doing it in 2021.
Fantastic, incredible story. So 2 locations down in Cincinnati for Bad Tom Smith.
2 beautiful locations.
Yeah, fantastic. So, guys, check them out for sure. It's an awesome story. I know John did a fantastic job telling you the backstory, but go online, go to their website, and find the tab that tells the story behind Bad Tom Smith. It probably took me 5-10 minutes to read it all through, and it is such a cool story. How everything really ties in behind that brand is fantastic. So, to that, John, cheers. I have an empty glass. I know it's bad luck, but cheers to everybody for hanging out with us.
I think it was a swig there.
All right, cheers, guys.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.